Chapter 1: The Disturbing Arrival. An eerie silence pervaded the little remote village of Ravenswood, which was tucked away in the center of a thick old forest. The town was long recognized for its unusual past. It was a place where secrets were kept by the shadows and where cobblestone streets appeared to resound with whispers of the paranormal. The residents of the town had long since become accustomed to the eerie atmosphere and were always on the lookout for the approaching woods. However, everything changed that fateful evening when Ravenswood was enveloped in darkness by an enigmatic fog that emerged from the forest. Nobody knew where the fog came from or when it would arrive, but it hung over the town like a dark cloud, obscuring the buildings with a thick layer of fog. Squeezed within this unsettling cage, the occupants began to feel increasingly uneasy, as though reality itself had been warped. Recently come to Ravenswood in pursuit of peace and inspiration for her writing, Amelia Thornton was a young woman with a taste for the unfamiliar. Although she had heard rumors of the town's quirks, she had written them off as mere superstitions. But when the mist rolled over Ravenswood, she couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that something wasn't right. Amelia resided in a charming, though uncomfortable home on the outskirts of town that appeared to have absorbed the unnerving atmosphere of the town, a centuries-old cottage. She saw a strange figure strolling in the distance that eerie evening as she peered out her window at the foggy streets. It was a thin, dark figure, its shape just visible through the dense mist. Amelia's curiosity overcame her judgment, and she made the decision to look into it. She took a lamp and went into the suffocating blackness. Amelia had trouble traversing the maze-like streets because of the unsettling fog. The only sound interrupting the eerie calm in the town was the cawing of crows, their calls seeming like prophets of doom resonating through the mist. The image slowly came into focus as she got closer. It was an old guy with a worn-out, sorrow-scarred face and a long, ragged cloak. It seemed as though he had come into Ravenswood from another planet, bewildered and disoriented. With caution, Amelia stepped closer to the guy, the long, unsettling shadows created by the weak light of her lantern. His head swung toward her with an uncanny speed, his eyes latching onto hers with a haunting, empty expression when she shouted out to him. The man said something that made Amelia shudder in a quiet, shaking voice. He said, "The whispers from the abyss," his voice nearly inaudible above the melancholy wind. The words, "They beckon, they beckon." As Amelia attempted to decipher his cryptic remarks, her heart raced. Before she could ask him further questions, the man's shape started to fade, dissipating. Chapter 2: Spirits of the Dead. With her lantern shining on the location where the enigmatic guy had stood seconds before, Amelia stood in the freezing fog. His mysterious statement, "The whispers from the abyss," lingered in her thoughts and gave her a terrible feeling of discomfort. Amelia couldn't get rid of the sensation that the town itself was alive with an unearthly presence as she looked around the fog-filled streets. The mist appeared to encircle her, making it harder for her to see her surroundings and heightening the unsettling vibe that had descended upon Ravenswood. Amelia went back to her cabin, determined to solve the riddle, and started her investigation. Looking for any reference to the odd fog that had come upon the village or the voices from the abyss, she combed through ancient books and notebooks. She felt goosebumps as she realized what she had found. There was a dusty, leather-bound tome from centuries ago that included allusions to an old mythology about a malignant spirit that was said to be hiding in the woodland around Ravenswood. As to the folklore, this power was supposed to open a portal to a place of immense darkness, home to unfathomable horrors and restless ghosts. The narrative continued by describing how, once per generation, the evil energy would emerge and cloak the town in a thick fog. The abyss's whispers would become audible during these times, sending listeners insane or worse. Amelia came to understand that this eerie folklore had something to do with the fog and the enigmatic guy she had met. The sounds emanating from the abyss were more than just folklore. They represented a menacing truth that posed a threat to Ravenswood. The fog got thicker and thicker until night fell again, shrouding the town in a blackness that seemed unbreakable. There was an increasing sense of urgency in Amelia to face the evil power and find out where the whispers were coming from. With the wisdom she had gained from the old book, she traveled farther into the forest with the intention of confronting the evil that had dogged Ravenswood for many years. There was a tangible sense of dread in the air as the woodland was an unsettling maze of towering trees, their branches stretching out like skeleton fingers. As Amelia descended farther, her lamp flickered and the shadows appeared to come to life with invisible motions. The sounds from the abyss became louder as she descended more into the forest, their voices eerie and unintelligible. Amelia was unable to determine if the sounds belonged to the restless spirits or to something far worse. At last she came to a clearing in the forest, where an old, twisted tree with bizarre markings carved into its bark stood. It appeared as though the whispers originated from the tree itself, carrying the secret to unleashing the evil energy that had tormented Ravenswood. Amelia walked up to the tree, her hands shaking, the faint light from her lantern illuminating the symbols carved on the bark. A chill went down her spine as she touched the symbols, and the whispers from the depths became louder. Amelia realized she needed to investigate the matter further in order to identify the whisper's origin and face the evil entity posing a threat to Ravenswood. She had no idea that her voyage into the depths of darkness was only getting started, and that the terrible horrors of the abyss were still to come. Chapter 3. The Agreement with Evil. In the center of the spooky woodland, Amelia stood before the old, gnarled tree, the ominous murmurs from the depths surrounding her like a demonic chorus. The markings carved into the bark of the tree radiated an unearthly energy, as though they contained the secret to unleashing the evil that was plaguing Ravenswood. Amelia brushed her fingers over the symbols, each touch sending a thrill of frigid fear through her, determined to find the source of the whispers and face the evil that had settled over the village. The muttering became louder as she continued, their voices around her like a furious storm. Amelia suddenly had a vision that gave her a look into the past and the beginning of the evil power that had plagued Ravenswood for many years. She noticed a throng of villagers gathered around the old tree, their faces twisted with despair. They appeared to be carrying out a rite that involved making a sinister deal with an alien force. The screams coming from the depths turned out to be the agonized cries of the spirits who had been enslaved by this evil entity, resonating throughout the forest. Amelia's heart skipped a beat upon realizing the terrible truth. In order to keep Ravenswood safe from some old, unfathomable evil, the town's forefathers had struck an unholy and desperate deal with darkness. However, the evil spirit they had called upon had become more powerful through the ages, its need for souls never quenching. Amelia felt a deep feeling of dread as the image vanished. She was aware that she would need to learn more about the forebears of the town and the mysteries of the forest in order to face the evil power and preserve Ravenswood. Determined to discover answers, Amelia resumed her trip into the spooky woods with the old tree serving as her guide. She felt as though the forest came to life around her, with the trees swaying and murmuring as though they possessed sinister secrets of their own. Deep in the jungle, she discovered an old, overgrown graveyard as she continued her journey. Time had worn down the inscriptions on the gravestones, which were covered with moss and tarnished. It was a long-forgotten location, a cemetery for those whose names had vanished from the records. The cemetery drew Amelia in, as though it contained the last parts of the puzzle. Among the empty graves, she came upon one that caught her attention, a worn gravestone with the name Elias van Derlen. The name made her shudder since she had heard rumors about the Van Derlen family, a family that was said to be involved with some of the town's most sinister mysteries. An inscription on the headstone described a terrible fate and a fervent desire for atonement. Amelia was aware that she needed to discover the truth about the town's cursed past and the Van Derlen family's connection to the evil power. The cemetery had the answers she was looking for, but they came at a cost that would plunge her even farther into the depths of the unknown. At the end of Chapter 3, Amelia had unearthed the old graveyard and found the name Elias van Derlen, a mysterious man linked to the town's troubled past. Though the roots of the demonic energy were starting to become apparent, the full horrors of Ravenswood were yet unknown. Chapter 4: The Malevolent Force. Amelia stood among the old cemetery's worn gravestones, her lantern creating fluttering shadows on the mossy floor. The name Elias van Derlen had caught her eye. It was a name that the people in the town muttered in secret, a name that appeared closely associated with the evil that afflicted Ravenswood. Amelia approached the graveside with the name Elias van Derlen with a resolute interest and started to remove the layers of dirt and moss that covered the inscription. A feeling of dread descended upon her as she turned over the words. The inscription told the terrible tale of a man who had resided in the town for generations, Elias van Derlen. He was characterized as a loner who was deeply interested in the dark arts and occult. There was a rumor that he had struck a deal with a wicked force, exchanging the ancestors' souls for power and immortality. As Amelia continued reading, it became clear to her that Elias van Derlen was the brains behind the ceremony that had tied the evil energy inside the forest. The curse he had set in motion was responsible for the eerie sounds emanating from Ravenswood, the fog, and the whispering from the abyss. However, the inscription also alluded to a ray of hope, a request for atonement, and a cautionary tale for posterity. Word spread of a rite that would demand a huge sacrifice but could break Elias's bond with the evil force. Amelia was determined to carry out this rite in order to lift the centuries-old curse that had afflicted Ravenswood. She needed to face the evil force, cut its connection to the community, and silence the rumors coming from the depths. With the help of the old inscription, Amelia made her way deeper into the forest, the light from her candle barely making it through the thick, oppressive blackness. As she got closer to the source of the evil energy, which appeared to be unaffected by the natural order, she could feel it becoming more powerful. At last, she came to a clearing enveloped in a strange, ghostly light. There was a gnarled tree in the middle, similar to the one in the middle of the forest, but this tree was different. You could feel the malevolence radiating from it. It was here, Amelia realized, where the evil spirit that had plagued Ravenswood for so many years originated. As she got closer to the tree, the sounds coming from the depths became unbearable, their screams full of despair and rage. Amelia started the ceremony using the information she had learned from the old inscription. She sang spells and offered sacrifices to the evil force, pleading with it to let go of Ravenswood. The evil force was not readily subdued. It retaliated with a barrage of paranormal terrors, calling up ghosts and letting loose a storm of gloom. As if to defend the thing that had imprisoned it for so long, the woodland appeared to come alive with evil purpose. But Amelia had unwavering resolve. She persisted, her voice resounding with unshakable resolve. When the ceremony came to an end, the clearing was engulfed in a bright light, and the evil creature screamed in pain as the ritual's arcane powers bound it. Amelia finished the ceremony with a last spell, ensuring the evil entity's demise. The evil power was sent forever, its link to Ravenswood shattered, and the forest shook. Amelia came out of the clearing tired but triumphant. The deafening fog that had enveloped the town started to lift, and the murmurs from the depths stopped. The curse that had dogged Ravenswood for ages had lifted. Amelia realized that her bravery and selflessness had freed the village from the evil force's grip as she turned to face the peaceful nature behind her. Now that the darkness was exiled, Ravenswood might at last experience tranquility. The successful completion of the ceremony by Amelia, the expulsion of the evil force, and the return of peace to Ravenswood marked the end of Chapter 4. The town's terrible curse had been removed, the eerie whispers from the depths had stopped, and peace and hope had returned.